Have you ever found yourself daydreaming about a life free from problems? A life where everything flows smoothly, challenges are non-existent, and peace is a constant companion? If you're nodding, you're not alone. It's an almost universal human desire to seek perfection, to chase an existence devoid of obstacles. Yet, the more we strive for this elusive ideal, the more dissatisfaction seems to grow. This desire is precisely what keeps us trapped in a cycle of frustration. What if I told you the real key to happiness isn't about solving every problem, but about transforming how you perceive and respond to them? Imagine this. Instead of being burdened by life's inevitable ups and downs, you could navigate them with grace, even gratitude. In this expanded journey, we'll dive deep into an ancient Buddhist parable that holds the secret to this transformative mindset. Known as the 84th problem, this timeless teaching reveals why the root of our suffering isn't the problems we face, but the unrealistic desire to live without them. Together, we'll unravel the layers of this profound lesson, exploring how it applies to our modern lives. By the end of this journey, you'll walk away with practical tools to embrace challenges with wisdom and compassion. Let's uncover how letting go of the 84th problem could change everything for you. The story of the farmer and the Buddha. In a quiet village surrounded by rolling fields, there lived a farmer. His days were long and arduous, starting before dawn and ending only when the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon. Despite his relentless efforts, the farmer's life was far from easy. His struggles seemed endless, and his worries multiplied by the day. The weather was unpredictable. Sometimes too much rain drowned his crops, other times a dry spell would parch the fields. His family was a constant source of tension, bickering over trivial matters. Neighbors often gossiped about him, casting doubts on his character and abilities. Even at night, when the world grew silent, his mind refused to rest, bombarded by anxious thoughts and unsettling dreams. The farmer began to despair. It felt as though life was conspiring against him, piling problem upon problem, no matter how hard he worked to resolve them. He yearned for peace, for a life without obstacles, and he became consumed by a singular hope: to find a solution to his never-ending troubles. A journey of desperation. One day, the farmer heard whispers in the village of a great teacher, the Buddha, who was said to possess profound wisdom. People claimed that the Buddha could illuminate life's mysteries and guide others toward peace. Clinging to this glimmer of hope, the farmer decided to seek him out. The journey was long and challenging. The farmer walked for days through forests, across rivers, and over hills, driven by the desperate hope of finding relief from his burdens. Along the way, he rehearsed the questions he would ask, his mind racing with scenarios of how the Buddha might offer him the answers he so desperately sought. Finally, the farmer arrived at the gathering place where the Buddha was teaching. The crowd was large, filled with people from all walks of life. Merchants, monks, beggars, and nobles, all seeking guidance. The farmer waited patiently, his heart pounding with anticipation as others stepped forward to share their stories and seek advice. When his turn came, he approached the Buddha, bowed respectfully, and began to speak. "Master," he said, his voice trembling with exhaustion and hope, "I am overwhelmed by my problems. My crops fail no matter how hard I work. My family argues endlessly. My neighbors gossip and slander me. Even in sleep, I find no rest, as bad dreams haunt me. I've tried everything, but nothing works. Please, can you help me? Can you take away my problems and give me peace?" The Buddha's response: The Buddha listened intently, his expression calm and serene. He didn't interrupt or rush the farmer, allowing him to pour out his heart. When the farmer finally fell silent, the Buddha paused for a moment, then smiled gently. "I cannot help you," he said softly. The farmer was stunned. The words struck him like a bolt of lightning. He had traveled so far, endured so much only to be told that there was no solution. His voice rose in frustration. "Master, surely you must know how to fix my life. If you cannot help me, who can?" The Buddha's smile did not waver. He leaned forward slightly and said, "Everyone has problems, my friend. All of us have 83 problems in life." The 83 problems. The farmer furrowed his brow, confused. "What do you mean by 83 problems?" he asked. The Buddha explained, "Life is full of challenges. There are problems we can solve, like fixing a broken tool or mending a fence. But there are also problems we cannot solve, like growing old, losing loved ones, or the inevitability of death. These 83 problems are part of the human condition. They cannot be escaped, no matter who you are." Hearing this, the farmer's frustration grew. If everyone has these 83 problems and you cannot take them away, then what is the purpose of your teachings? Why did I come here? The Buddha's gaze softened, and his voice took on a tone of compassion. "The problem isn't the 83 problems," he said. "The real issue is the 84th problem." The farmer's eyes narrowed in confusion. "The 84th problem? What is that?" The Buddha replied, "The 84th problem is your desire to have no problems. This is the source of your suffering. Let go of this, and you will find peace." A moment of clarity. The farmer stood in stunned silence as the Buddha's words sank in. His mind raced to process the profound simplicity of the message. He realized that his suffering wasn't caused by the problems themselves, but by his resistance to them, his constant yearning for a life free of challenges. For the first time, he saw his struggles in a new light. Problems were not punishments or signs of failure. They were simply part of existence, woven into the fabric of life. He understood that peace didn't come from eliminating problems, but from accepting them with grace. The farmer bowed deeply, thanking the Buddha for his wisdom. He returned to his village, his heart lighter than it had been in years. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. His crops still faced challenges, his family still argued, and his neighbors still gossiped. But the way he approached these issues had changed. Whenever a new problem arose, the farmer would remind himself, "This is one of the 83." And whenever he felt overwhelmed, he would let go of the 84th problem, the desire for a life without troubles. Reflection, a timeless lesson. This expanded version of the parable not only illustrates the profound wisdom of the 84th problem, but also deepens its emotional resonance. The farmer's journey mirrors our own struggles, reminding us that peace is not about erasing challenges, but about changing how we respond to them. As we navigate our own 83 problems, let us remember the Buddha's timeless advice. The path to peace begins with letting go of the 84th. The core wisdom of the 84th problem. The 84th problem offers a profound insight into human suffering and the nature of happiness. At its heart, this teaching reveals a simple yet transformative truth. It is not the problems of life that cause the greatest suffering, but our resistance to them and our unrealistic desire for a life free of challenges. Problems are inevitable. the Buddha's wisdom begins with an acknowledgement of life's imperfection. Problems are an unavoidable part of existence. Whether we are rich or poor, young or old, everyone faces challenges, big and small, that test their patience, resilience, and perspective. These problems are symbolized by the 83 problems, representing the universal and varied nature of life's difficulties. Some problems are solvable. These might include repairing a leaky roof, addressing a workplace issue, or resolving a misunderstanding with a loved one. With effort and action, these problems can often be fixed. Some problems are unsolvable. These include the inevitabilities of life, aging, sickness, loss, and death. No amount of effort can eliminate these realities. They are part of what it means to be human. The Buddha's teaching acknowledges these two types of problems, but shifts focus to something deeper, the way we think about them. The desire for a problem-free life. The 84th problem isn't about a specific challenge. Instead, it represents our yearning for a life where problems don't exist at all. This desire is deeply ingrained in the human psyche. From an early age, we are conditioned to strive for perfection and avoid discomfort. Society often reinforces this mindset, presenting an idealized image of a life that is smooth, easy, and without obstacles. We dream of careers without stress, relationships without conflict, and plans that unfold flawlessly. We resist change, fearing uncertainty, and clinging to what feels safe and predictable. When problems arise, we view them as intrusions into what should be a perfect life. This yearning for perfection, the 84th problem, is not only unattainable but also counterproductive. By clinging to the illusion of a problem-free existence, we create additional layers of suffering. Every problem feels heavier because it clashes with our unrealistic expectations. Suffering is optional. The distinction between pain and suffering is central to the wisdom of the 84th problem. While pain is an inevitable part of life, suffering arises from how we respond to it. Pain, the natural challenges and discomforts of life, physical, emotional, or situational. Examples: losing a loved one, failing at a goal, or dealing with illness. Suffering, the additional emotional burden we create through resistance, denial, or frustration. Examples: wishing things were different, blaming oneself for uncontrollable events, or resenting the unfairness of life. The 84th problem magnifies suffering by fueling resistance. When we demand a life without pain, every inevitable challenge becomes a source of frustration. Instead of addressing the problem itself, we spiral into thoughts like, "Why is this happening to me?" or "This shouldn't be so hard." The result is a compounding of emotional distress. The Buddha teaches that suffering is optional. By letting go of the 84th problem, we can learn to accept life's imperfections and reduce the mental and emotional turmoil they create. The roots of the 84th problem in attachment. The 84th problem is deeply connected to the Buddhist concept of attachment. In Buddhist teachings, attachment is the root of suffering because it binds us to desires and expectations that are inherently impermanent. The 84th problem represents an attachment to the idea of perfection, a life where challenges are absent and everything is under control. However, this attachment is at odds with the reality of anicca, impermanence, one of the foundational truths in Buddhism. Life is ever-changing, and trying to hold on to a static, idealized vision of existence leads to dissatisfaction. Resistance amplifies suffering. The 84th problem highlights how resistance exacerbates our struggles. Consider these examples. Traffic jam. The physical reality is that you're stuck in your car, moving slowly. But the mental resistance, wishing it weren't happening, getting angry at other drivers, or blaming yourself for being late, creates additional stress. Workplace conflict. A disagreement with a colleague is a natural occurrence. However, ruminating on how unfair the situation is, or wishing for a perfect work environment, amplifies the emotional toll. Aging. The physical changes of aging are unavoidable. Resisting these changes through denial, fear, or frustration adds unnecessary suffering. Resistance acts like a magnifying glass, turning small problems into overwhelming burdens. The Buddha's teaching invites us to remove this magnifying glass and see problems as they are, not as catastrophic barriers, but as natural aspects of life. Letting go of the 84th problem. The antidote to the 84th problem is acceptance. Letting go of the desire for a problem-free life doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. Instead, it means approaching challenges with a mindset of openness and curiosity. Acceptance involves recognizing problems as natural, acknowledging that life's challenges are not personal failures, but universal experiences. Shifting perspective, viewing problems as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to happiness. Cultivating mindfulness, staying present with difficulties without getting swept away by judgment or resistance. Why this wisdom matters. The core wisdom of the 84th problem has profound implications for how we live. It reduces unnecessary suffering. By letting go of the belief that life should be perfect, we free ourselves from the constant tension of unmet expectations. It builds resilience. Acceptance doesn't eliminate challenges, but it helps us approach them with clarity and strength. It fosters gratitude. When we stop resisting problems, we become more aware of life's beauty and blessings, even amidst difficulty. A new way of living. Imagine navigating life with the mindset that problems are simply part of the journey. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to practice patience, mindfulness, and compassion. The 84th problem no longer holds power over you, and you can embrace life as it is, with all its imperfections and unpredictability. This shift is not just a philosophical concept, but a practical tool for transforming how you experience the world. By understanding and applying the wisdom of the 84th problem, you can move from a place of resistance to one of acceptance, finding peace even in the midst of life's inevitable challenges. Historical context. The Buddhist perspective. To fully grasp the transformative wisdom of the 84th problem, we must understand its roots in Buddhist philosophy and how it reflects the central tenets of the Buddha's teachings. This parable is not an isolated story, but a practical demonstration of principles found in ancient Buddhist texts, offering a timeless lens through which to view human suffering and the path to liberation. The birth of the Buddha's teachings. The story of the 84th problem is deeply embedded in the historical context of Buddhism, which emerged in ancient India over 2,500 years ago. Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha, the Enlightened One, was born into a life of privilege as a prince. Sheltered from the hardships of the world, he lived in opulence and comfort. However, his life took a dramatic turn when he encountered the four sights: an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and a wandering ascetic. These encounters revealed to him the inescapable realities of human existence: aging, sickness, and death. They also planted the seeds of his spiritual journey. as he realized that material wealth and pleasure could not shield anyone from life's inevitable suffering. Siddhartha renounced his princely life and embarked on a quest to discover the root causes of suffering and the path to lasting peace. After years of intense meditation and self-reflection, he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree and shared his insights with the world, founding the spiritual tradition that would come to be known as Buddhism, the core of Buddhist philosophy. At the heart of the Buddha's teachings are the Four Noble Truths, which provide a framework for understanding the nature of suffering and its cessation. These truths are integral to the wisdom conveyed in the 84th problem, the truth of suffering. Dukkha. Life is marked by suffering, dissatisfaction, and imperfection. The Buddha recognized that this suffering is universal and inevitable, encompassing everything from minor frustrations to profound existential pain. In the parable of the 84th problem, this truth is embodied by the 83 problems that everyone faces, those unavoidable challenges that define the human experience. The truth of the cause of suffering, samudaya. Suffering arises from craving, tanha, and attachment. This includes the desire for pleasurable experiences, the aversion to pain, and the yearning for a perfect, problem-free existence. The 84th problem is a direct reflection of this truth. It represents our craving for a life without challenges, which creates additional layers of suffering beyond the natural difficulties we already face. The truth of the end of suffering, nirodha. Liberation from suffering is possible by letting go of attachment and craving. The Buddha taught that by changing our relationship with problems, accepting them rather than resisting them, we can transcend suffering and achieve inner peace. The farmer in the parable experiences this truth when he realizes that his suffering is not caused by the 83 problems, but by his resistance to them, the 84th problem. The truth of the path, magga. The Buddha outlined the Eightfold Path, a practical guide for overcoming suffering and cultivating wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. This path includes mindfulness, right effort, and right understanding, all of which are essential for letting go of the 84th problem. The concept of dukkha, imperfection as a universal reality. Central to the Buddhist perspective is the idea of dukkha, often translated as suffering or dissatisfaction. However, dukkha encompasses more than just pain or hardship. It refers to the fundamental imperfection of life, the inherent inability of worldly experiences to provide lasting fulfillment. Ordinary suffering, the pain of illness, loss, and other tangible hardships. Suffering of change, the discomfort that arises when pleasant experiences fade or transform into something less desirable. Existential suffering, the underlying dissatisfaction that persists even when life seems comfortable or successful. The 83 problems in the parable mirror these dimensions of dukkha. They remind us that no matter how much we try to control or perfect our circumstances, problems will always arise. The 84th problem, our resistance to this reality, only deepens our sense of dissatisfaction. Anicca, the impermanence of all things. Another foundational concept in Buddhism is anicca, or impermanence. The Buddha taught that all things are transient: relationships, possessions, health, and even life itself. Our tendency to cling to permanence, to seek stability in an ever-changing world, leads to suffering. The 84th problem is rooted in this tendency. By wishing for a life without problems, we are clinging to an impossible ideal. This attachment blinds us to the beauty of impermanence, the way challenges shape us and offer opportunities for growth. Practical applications. Embracing the 83rd problems. The wisdom of the 84th problem lies in its practical implications. Life's 83 problems, those inevitable challenges we all face, are not optional. However, how we respond to them is entirely within our control. By embracing the 83 problems rather than resisting them, we can transform our approach to life and reduce unnecessary suffering. Here's how to apply this wisdom in everyday situations, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth and peace. 1. Reframing challenges. Shifting perspective. One of the most transformative ways to embrace the 83 problems is to reframe how we view challenges. Instead of seeing problems as intrusions or failures, we can recognize them as natural parts of life that provide opportunities for growth. Example: imagine you're dealing with a difficult coworker. Instead of dwelling on how much easier life would be without them, shift your mindset. Acknowledge their behavior as one of the 83 problems, something beyond your control. Focus instead on what you can control: your reactions, your boundaries, and your approach to communication. Mindset shift. Every challenge is a chance to practice patience, resilience, and compassion. When reframed in this way, problems become less burdensome and more manageable. 2. Letting go of control. Embracing uncertainty. Many of life's problems stem from our desire to control outcomes. We plan, prepare, and strategize, only to feel frustrated when things don't go as expected. The wisdom of the 84th problem teaches us to let go of this need for control and accept life's unpredictability. Example: you've meticulously planned a family picnic, but it starts raining unexpectedly. You can either become upset about the ruined plans or adapt to the situation, finding joy in an impromptu indoor gathering. Actionable insight. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing what you can't change and focusing your energy on what you can. This acceptance can free you from unnecessary stress and open the door to creative solutions. 3. Navigating relationships with compassion. Relationships are one of the most common sources of life's 83 problems. Misunderstandings, disagreements, and unmet expectations are inevitable when dealing with others. Instead of expecting perfection in our interactions, the wisdom of the 84th problem encourages us to approach relationships with compassion and realism. Example: a close friend forgets your birthday. Instead of feeling hurt or angry, remind yourself that forgetfulness is one of the 83 problems. Consider the overall strength of your friendship, rather than focusing on this single oversight. Practical step. Ask yourself, is this conflict one of the 83 problems? If so, shift your focus from controlling the other person's behavior to understanding their perspective. This approach can reduce tension and strengthen your connection. 4. Coping with uncertainty. Finding stability in the present. Uncertainty is one of life's greatest challenges. We crave predictability, yet life often unfolds in unexpected ways. The 84th problem, our resistance to uncertainty, only amplifies the discomfort. Embracing uncertainty involves grounding ourselves in the present moment and letting go of the need for guarantees. Example: you're waiting to hear back about a job interview. Instead of obsessing over possible outcomes, focus on what you can do in the meantime, like improving your skills, exploring other opportunities, or simply enjoying activities that bring you joy. Mindfulness practices. Techniques like meditation, deep breathing, or journaling can help you stay present and calm in the face of uncertainty. 5. shifting from problem-focused to solution-focused thinking. Dwelling on problems without seeking solutions can lead to frustration and stagnation. By adopting a solution-focused mindset, you can redirect your energy toward actionable steps and create positive change. Example: financial struggles are one of your 83 problems. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the situation, break it down into manageable steps. Create a budget, look for additional income sources, or seek financial advice. Practical insight: even if a problem cannot be solved immediately, taking small, consistent actions can provide a sense of control and reduce feelings of helplessness. 6. Reframing failures as lessons. Failures are often perceived as setbacks, but they can also be valuable teachers. The 83rd problems include inevitable moments of disappointment and defeat, but the 84th problem, our resistance to failure, prevents us from learning and growing from these experiences. Example: you didn't get the promotion you were hoping for. Instead of internalizing it as a personal failure, view it as an opportunity to reflect and improve. What skills can you develop? What feedback can you incorporate into your growth? Mindset shift: when you see failures as lessons rather than obstacles, you reduce suffering and cultivate resilience. 7. Practicing gratitude amidst problems. One of the most powerful ways to embrace the 83 problems is by balancing them with gratitude. Gratitude doesn't erase problems, but it shifts your focus to the positive aspects of your life, making challenges feel less overwhelming. Example: amidst a tough week at work, take a moment to appreciate the supportive colleague who checks in on you, or the joy of a simple cup of coffee in the morning. Daily practice: keep a gratitude journal where you write down 3 things you're thankful for each day. Over time, this practice can rewire your mindset to focus on the good even during difficult times. 8. Accepting life's impermanence. The Buddhist concept of anicca, impermanence, reminds us that everything in life is transient, both joys and challenges. Embracing the 83 problems means accepting this impermanence and finding peace in the ebb and flow of life. Example: you're mourning the end of a meaningful relationship. Instead of clinging to what was, remind yourself that all things are temporary. Use this time to reflect, heal, and grow. Reflection exercise: when faced with a problem, ask yourself, how might this situation change over time? This perspective can help you navigate difficulties with patience and hope. 9. Balancing action with acceptance. Embracing the 83 problems doesn't mean passivity. It means balancing effort with acceptance, taking action where possible while letting go of resistance to what cannot be changed. Example: your flight is delayed and you're missing an important event. You can't control the airline, but you can use the time to relax, read, or connect with others in the same situation. Practical tip: create a mental checklist for problems. Can I change this situation? If yes, what actions can I take? If no, how can I adapt and make the best of it? 10. Living with mindfulness and presence. Mindfulness is a cornerstone of the Buddhist approach to life. By staying present with your experiences, you can navigate problems with clarity and composure, rather than being overwhelmed by frustration or fear. Example: during a heated argument, instead of reacting impulsively, take a deep breath and focus on the present moment. Recognize the emotions you are feeling without letting them control your response. Mindfulness tools. Meditation. Set aside time each day to practice mindfulness meditation. Breathing exercises. use your breath to anchor yourself during stressful moments. Body scans. Check in with your physical sensations to ground yourself in the here and now. Bringing it all together. The wisdom of embracing the 83 problems lies in its practicality. By reframing challenges, letting go of control, cultivating gratitude, and adopting a solution-focused mindset, we can transform our relationship with life's inevitable difficulties. The 84th problem, the yearning for a perfect, problem-free existence, only amplifies suffering. When we release this desire and accept life as it is, we create space for peace, resilience, and even joy. The next time you face a problem, pause and remind yourself, this is one of the 83. With this perspective, you can approach challenges with grace, finding growth and meaning in the imperfections of life. Real-life stories. Applying the wisdom of the 84th problem. The teachings of the 84th problem are not just theoretical, they are deeply practical and relatable, finding resonance in real-world experiences. To illustrate how this wisdom can be applied, let's explore a series of real-life stories that show how individuals across different walks of life embraced the 83 problems, let go of the 84th, and transformed their lives. 1. The executive who found clarity in chaos. John, a high-powered executive at a multinational corporation, was known for his relentless drive. He meticulously planned every detail of his professional and personal life, believing that control was the key to success. However, his pursuit of perfection led to constant stress. When things didn't go according to plan, whether it was a last-minute client cancellation or an unexpected dip in profits, John would spiral into frustration, blaming himself and others. After attending a mindfulness workshop, John was introduced to the concept of the 84th problem. The idea struck a chord. He realized that his suffering wasn't caused by the daily challenges of his job, but by his resistance to them. He was clinging to the belief that things shouldn't go wrong. John began to shift his mindset. Instead of viewing unexpected problems as failures, he started seeing them as part of the natural ebb and flow of business. When a deal fell through, he reminded himself, this is one of the 83. With this perspective, he approached problems with greater composure, using them as opportunities to refine strategies and build resilience within his team. Over time, John noticed a profound change, not only in his stress levels but also in his leadership style. His ability to remain calm under pressure inspired his colleagues, creating a more collaborative and adaptable work environment. 2. The single mother's journey to gratitude. For Maria, a single mother of 2, life felt like an endless series of problems. Balancing her full-time job, her children's needs, and household responsibilities left her exhausted. When her car broke down on the way to an important meeting, Maria burst into tears. Why does everything have to be so hard? She thought. Maria's perspective changed after reading about the 84th problem in a parenting blog. She began to see her challenges not as punishments, but as part of the human experience. Inspired, she decided to practice gratitude amidst her struggles. Each night, Maria would write down 3 things she was thankful for, even on the toughest days. For example, the kind stranger who helped her jumpstart her car, her children's laughter over a silly dinner conversation, a moment of peace while sipping her morning coffee. This simple shift transformed Maria's outlook. While her responsibilities didn't decrease, her capacity to face them grew. She found joy in small moments and approached setbacks with a sense of acceptance rather than resistance. Maria's children, noticing her calmer demeanor, became more cooperative, creating a positive ripple effect in their home. 3. The artist who embraced imperfection. Samantha, a painter, was her own harshest critic. She would spend hours reworking a single piece, striving for perfection. Her fear of imperfection often led her to abandon projects altogether, paralyzed by the idea that her work might not be good enough. A friend introduced Samantha to the story of the farmer and the Buddha. The concept of the 84th problem resonated deeply with her. She realized that her suffering stemmed not from the imperfections in her art, but from her attachment to the idea that her work should be flawless. Samantha began to approach her creative process differently. She set a goal to complete one painting each week, regardless of how perfect it felt. Whenever self-doubt crept in, she would remind herself, "This is one of the 83 problems." Over time, Samantha discovered a newfound freedom in her work. By embracing imperfection, she allowed her creativity to flow more naturally. Her art became more authentic, and she even began to receive recognition for its raw, expressive quality. For Samantha, letting go of the 84th problem unlocked a deeper connection to her craft. The teacher who found peace in the classroom. Mr. Patel, a high school teacher, loved his job but struggled with the pressures that came with it. He wanted to ensure that every student succeeded, but disruptive behavior, inconsistent performance, and external challenges made his work feel overwhelming. He often went home feeling defeated, questioning his abilities as an educator. During a professional development seminar, Mr. Patel learned about the 84th problem. He reflected on his desire for a classroom without difficulties, an unrealistic expectation that had been fueling his frustration. Inspired by the teaching, he began to focus on what he could control, creating a supportive learning environment and fostering a growth mindset in his students. Mr. Patel also introduced mindfulness practices in his classroom, such as starting the day with a moment of quiet reflection. He encouraged his students to view mistakes as opportunities to learn, sharing the concept of the 83 problems to help them manage their own challenges. This shift had a profound impact. Mr. Patel felt more fulfilled in his role, and his students responded positively to the supportive atmosphere. By letting go of the 84th problem, he found joy and purpose in his work, even amidst its inevitable challenges. 5. The retiree who embraced change. After retiring from a 40-year career, David struggled with feelings of loss and aimlessness. He missed the structure and sense of purpose his job had provided. Retirement, which he had looked forward to for years, felt like an endless series of problems. Health concerns, financial planning, and the challenge of filling his days meaningfully. David's perspective shifted when he attended a community lecture on Buddhist philosophy. The speaker shared the story of the 84th problem, emphasizing the importance of accepting life's imperfections. David realized that his suffering came from clinging to the past and resisting the uncertainties of his new chapter. Motivated by this insight, David began exploring activities he had always wanted to try but never had time for, like gardening, volunteering, and learning to play the guitar. Instead of focusing on what he had lost, he embraced the opportunities available to him in the present. While David's challenges didn't disappear, his attitude toward them changed. By letting go of the 84th problem, he found peace and fulfillment in the unpredictability of life after retirement. 6. The student who learned to face failures. Emily, a university student, had always been a high achiever. When she failed her first major exam, she was devastated. She spent days replaying her mistakes and worrying about how this failure would affect her future. The stress became so overwhelming that it affected her performance in other areas. Emily's perspective began to shift when she attended a mindfulness workshop on campus. The facilitator introduced the concept of the 84th problem, explaining that failure is an inevitable part of the 83 problems everyone faces. Emily realized that her suffering wasn't just about the exam, it was about her inability to accept imperfection. With this new mindset, Emily started to see her failure as an opportunity to learn. She sought feedback from her professor, adjusted her study habits, and reminded herself that setbacks were a natural part of growth. Over time, she not only improved academically, but also developed greater resilience and self-compassion. Reflection: a universal lesson in everyday lives. These real-life stories illustrate how the wisdom of the 84th problem can transform our approach to life's challenges. Each individual faced difficulties that were unavoidable, the 83 problems, but found peace and growth by letting go of their resistance to those challenges. Whether in the workplace, at home, or in personal pursuits, the lesson is clear. By accepting life's imperfections and focusing on what we can control, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. The next time you face a problem, ask yourself, is this one of the 83? If the answer is yes, let go of the 84th problem and approach the situation with openness, curiosity, and compassion. In doing so, you'll discover that true peace lies not in eliminating challenges, but in embracing them as essential parts of life's journey. Deeper analysis of Buddhist teachings. The 84th problem parable offers a gateway to understanding some of the most profound and practical teachings in Buddhism. At its core, this story encapsulates the Buddha's insights into suffering, impermanence, and liberation, while also highlighting the transformative power of acceptance and mindfulness. To truly appreciate its depth, let's delve into the key Buddhist concepts that underpin this parable and explore how they resonate with modern life. The Four Noble Truths, the foundation of Buddhist wisdom. The Four Noble Truths form the bedrock of the Buddha's teachings, offering a comprehensive framework for understanding suffering and its cessation. The 84th problem directly reflects these truths, especially in how it addresses the root causes of human suffering. 1. The truth of suffering, dukkha. The first truth acknowledges that suffering is an inherent part of life. It manifests in many forms, such as physical pain, emotional distress, or existential dissatisfaction. The 83 problems represent this universal truth, encompassing the unavoidable challenges that everyone faces, from illness to aging to daily frustrations. However, the parable goes a step further to highlight the 84th problem, the desire to escape all problems. This craving for a perfect, problem-free existence amplifies our suffering, as it creates a persistent sense of dissatisfaction with reality. Modern perspective. In today's world, we are often bombarded with messages that promote perfection, flawless appearances, seamless careers, and ideal relationships. This societal pressure feeds the illusion that life should be free of problems, making even minor inconveniences feel intolerable. The truth of the cause of suffering, samudaya. The second truth identifies craving, tanha, and attachment as the root causes of suffering. We suffer because we cling to desires for comfort, pleasure, and permanence, and because we resist pain, discomfort, and change. The 84th problem embodies this attachment, the craving for a life devoid of hardship. Buddhist insight. The Buddha taught that attachment blinds us to the transient nature of life. By clinging to the idea of a perfect existence, we set ourselves up for disappointment. The farmer in the parable illustrates this point. His suffering arises not from the 83 problems themselves, but from his resistance to them. The truth of the end of suffering. Nirodha. The third truth offers hope. It is possible to end suffering by letting go of attachment and craving. In the context of the 84th problem, this means relinquishing the unrealistic expectation that life should be free of difficulties. When the farmer learns to let go of his desire for a perfect life, he finds peace, even though his external circumstances remain unchanged. Modern relevance. This truth is particularly powerful in today's fast-paced, high-pressure environment. By shifting our focus from trying to control everything to cultivating acceptance, we can reduce the emotional burden of life's challenges. 4. The truth of the path. Magga. The final truth outlines the Eightfold Path, a practical guide to overcoming suffering. The path includes ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom, all of which are essential for addressing the 84th problem. Practices like mindfulness, right effort, and right understanding can help us navigate life's challenges with grace and equanimity. Application in daily life. The Eightfold Path encourages us to approach problems with a balanced perspective. For instance, mindfulness allows us to stay present with our challenges, while right understanding helps us see them as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to happiness. Dukkha, the nature of suffering and imperfection. In Buddhism, the concept of dukkha extends beyond physical pain or emotional distress. It refers to the pervasive dissatisfaction that arises from clinging to impermanent things. The 84th problem is a direct manifestation of dukkha. It reflects our inability to accept life's imperfections. 3 types of dukkha. Ordinary suffering, the everyday problems we face, like illness, loss, or conflict. These are the 83 problems described in the parable. Suffering of change, the discomfort that comes when unpleasant experiences fade or when life takes an unexpected turn. Existential suffering, the subtle unease that arises from the transient nature of existence, even in the absence of specific problems. Example: imagine achieving a major life goal, such as buying a dream home. While the initial joy is profound, it doesn't last forever. Maintenance issues, financial worries, or the realization that it hasn't brought lasting happiness can create dissatisfaction. This is dukkha in action. The Buddha's teaching emphasizes that we cannot escape dukkha by changing external circumstances. Instead, we must transform our relationship with it. Anicca, embracing impermanence. Another key concept in Buddhism is anicca, or impermanence. Everything in life is transient. Relationships, possessions, health, and even our thoughts and emotions. The 84th problem reflects our struggle to accept this reality. By yearning for stability and perfection, we resist the natural flow of life. Illustration: the farmer in the parable cannot control the weather, his family dynamics, or the gossip of his neighbors. These external circumstances are inherently impermanent. His suffering comes from his resistance to this impermanence, not the events themselves. Modern reflection. In a world dominated by rapid technological advancements and shifting social norms, impermanence is more evident than ever. Learning to embrace change rather than resist it can reduce stress and foster resilience. Attachment and aversion, the dual forces of suffering. The Buddha identified attachment, raga, and aversion, dvesha, as the twin forces that perpetuate suffering. We attach ourselves to things we desire and push away things we dislike, creating a constant state of tension. The 84th problem exemplifies this dynamic. Attachment, clinging to the idea of a perfect, problem-free life. Aversion, resisting and resenting life's inevitable challenges. Practical insight. By recognizing these tendencies, we can begin to let go of the mental patterns that amplify our suffering. Instead of being driven by attachment and aversion, we can cultivate acceptance and equanimity. The middle way, a balanced approach to life. The Buddha's middle way is a path of moderation that avoids extremes. It encourages us to engage with life's challenges without being consumed by them. The 84th problem aligns with this teaching, reminding us to accept life's imperfections while continuing to take meaningful action. Example: imagine losing a job. The extremes might involve despair, believing life is over, or denial, pretending it doesn't matter. The middle way involves acknowledging the pain, reflecting on lessons learned, and taking steps toward new opportunities. Mindfulness and the present moment. Mindfulness, a cornerstone of Buddhist practice, plays a crucial role in addressing the 84th problem. By staying present with our experiences, we can observe our reactions without judgment. This awareness helps us break free from habitual patterns of resistance and frustration. Example: when stuck in traffic, mindfulness allows us to notice our rising frustration without being consumed by it. Instead of thinking, "This shouldn't be happening," we can accept the situation as it is, reducing unnecessary stress. The paradox of letting go. One of the most profound lessons of the 84th problem is the paradox of letting go. By releasing our attachment to a problem-free life, we actually experience greater peace. This doesn't mean passivity. It means engaging with life from a place of acceptance rather than resistance. Buddhist teaching. The Buddha often compared the mind to a turbulent river. When we let go of resistance, the river calms, and we can navigate its currents with greater ease. Similarly, by letting go of the 84th problem, we can flow with life rather than against it. Practical integration. Applying Buddhist teachings to integrate the wisdom of the 84th problem into daily life. Pause and reflect. When faced with a challenge, ask yourself, is this one of the 83 problems? If so, acknowledge it without judgment. Cultivate gratitude. Balance life's difficulties with a focus on its blessings. Practice mindfulness. Stay present with your experiences, observing your thoughts and emotions without clinging to them. Embrace impermanence. Recognize that challenges, like joys, are temporary. Let go of the 84th problem. Release the unrealistic desire for perfection and find peace in life's imperfections. A timeless teaching for modern life. The 84th problem encapsulates the essence of Buddhist wisdom, offering practical tools for navigating life's inevitable challenges. By embracing dukkha, anicca, and the middle way, we can transcend the cycles of attachment and aversion that perpetuate suffering. In doing so, we unlock the potential to live with greater clarity, compassion, and joy, no matter how many of life's 83 problems come our way. The path to letting go. A step-by-step guide. Letting go of the 84th problem, The desire for a problem-free life is not an overnight transformation. It is a process, a journey of understanding, acceptance, and practice. This step-by-step guide provides a roadmap to help you navigate the path of letting go, drawing on Buddhist teachings, mindfulness practices, and practical insights. Step 1. Awareness, recognizing the 84th problem. The first step to letting go is cultivating awareness. You cannot release what you do not recognize. Often, the 84th problem, our resistance to life's challenges, lurks in the background of our thoughts and actions, subtly amplifying our suffering. What to do? Pay attention to your inner dialogue when a problem arises. Are you thinking, "This shouldn't be happening," or "Why is this so hard?" Notice if you are clinging to the idea that life should be easier or that challenges shouldn't exist. Practical exercise. Start a journal to record moments when you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, or upset. Write down the problem and reflect on whether your suffering comes from the problem itself or from your resistance to it. Mantra for awareness. This is one of the 83 problems. I can let go of the 84th. Step 2. Acceptance, facing reality without judgment. Once you've identified the 84th problem, the next step is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean resigning yourself to suffering or giving up on solutions. Instead, it means acknowledging reality as it is, without wishing it were different. What to do? When a challenge arises, take a moment to pause and breathe. Instead of resisting or denying the problem, name it. This is a difficult moment. Remind yourself that problems are a natural part of life. Everyone has their 83 problems. Practical exercise. Practice the RAIN method. Recognize what's happening. Allow the experience to be there without resistance. Investigate your feelings with curiosity. Nurture yourself with self-compassion. Mantra for acceptance. Problems are a part of life. I can face this with openness and grace. Step 3. Perspective. Seeing problems as opportunities. A key part of letting go is shifting your perspective. Instead of viewing problems as obstacles or punishments, see them as opportunities for growth, learning, and transformation. This mindset doesn't erase the difficulty of challenges, but helps you approach them with curiosity and resilience. What to do? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? Reframe problems as chances to practice patience, creativity, or empathy. Example: if a project at work fails, instead of seeing it as a personal failure, reflect on what the experience taught you. Perhaps it highlighted areas for improvement or opened the door to a better opportunity. Step 4. Action. Focus on what you can control. Letting go doesn't mean passivity. It means focusing your energy on what you can control while releasing the need to control the uncontrollable. This step is about taking practical actions to address problems while maintaining a mindset of acceptance for the aspects you cannot change. What to do? Break problems into manageable steps. Identify what is within your control and take action on those aspects. Let go of the need to control outcomes that are beyond your influence. Practical exercise. Create a control and let go list. Divide a piece of paper into 2 columns. On one side, list what you can control about the situation, e.g., your effort, your attitude. On the other side, list what you cannot control, e.g., other people's opinions, external events. Commit to focusing only on the items in the first column. Mantra for action. I will take action where I can and release what I cannot control. Step 5. Mindfulness. Staying present in the moment. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present with your experience, without judgment. It is a powerful tool for letting go of the 84th problem, as it helps you respond to challenges with clarity and calm, rather than reactivity. What to do? Practice mindfulness meditation to build your ability to stay present. Focus on your breath, observing thoughts and emotions as they arise without clinging to them. During challenging moments, use mindfulness to ground yourself. Notice the sensations in your body, the rhythm of your breath, and the details of your surroundings. Practical exercise. Try a 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. Notice 5 things you can see. Notice 4 things you can touch. Notice 3 things you can hear. Notice 2 things you can smell. Notice 1 thing you can taste. Mantra for mindfulness. I am here in this moment. I choose to respond with presence. Step 6. Gratitude. Balancing problems with blessings. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to the 84th problem. It shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right, helping you see the blessings in your life even amidst challenges. What to do? Develop a daily gratitude practice. Each evening, write down 3 things you're thankful for, no matter how small. When facing a problem, ask yourself, what is still good in my life right now? Example: if you're dealing with a health issue, focus on the support of loved ones, access to care, or the strength you're cultivating through the experience. Mantra for gratitude. Even amidst challenges, there is much to be grateful for. Step 7. Reflection. Regularly revisit the lessons. Letting go is not a one-time event. It requires regular reflection and reinforcement. By revisiting the lessons of the 84th problem, you can deepen your understanding and strengthen your ability to navigate life's challenges. What to do? Set aside time each week to reflect on how you've approached problems. Ask yourself, did I recognize the 84th problem? Did I practice acceptance? What did I learn from my challenges? Revisit the story of the farmer and the Buddha as a source of inspiration. Practical exercise. Write a reflective journal entry at the end of each week, summarizing your experiences and insights. Mantra for reflection. I grow stronger with each challenge I face. Step 8. Self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness. Letting go of the 84th problem requires kindness toward yourself. Life is full of ups and downs, and you will sometimes fall into the trap of resistance. Instead of criticizing yourself, approach these moments with self-compassion. What to do? When you catch yourself clinging to the 84th problem, pause and say to yourself, it's okay to feel this way. I am learning and growing. Remind yourself that everyone struggles with life's challenges. You are not alone. Practical exercise. Write yourself a compassionate letter, acknowledging your struggles and offering words of encouragement. Read it whenever you need a reminder to be gentle with yourself. Mantra for self-compassion. I am doing my best. I am worthy of kindness and understanding. The path to letting go of the 84th problem is not linear. There will be moments when resistance creeps back in, or when life's challenges feel overwhelming. But with awareness, acceptance, and consistent practice, you can gradually transform your relationship with life's inevitable difficulties. By embracing this journey, you'll find that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of acceptance. With each step, you move closer to a life of resilience, gratitude, and mindfulness, one where the 84th problem loses its grip and true freedom begins.